Everybody doing? I'm gonna do a fishing stream. I'm absolutely gonna do a fishing stream. Uh, okay. Now, if you look, I got a little bit more of that done. I worked on it yesterday. I got a little bit more of that done. I gotta get going, or there'll just be, fucking monsters galore in the water as I try to get over there. The thing I'm gonna be talking about, it was something my brother watched, and then he saved it so I could watch it. But it was National Geographic doing a piece on Roswell, New Mexico, and I'm kind of glad I watched it because when I saw it, I'm like, well, I'll do a stream about it. But like I was talking to him this morning because I watched it this morning after I fed the cats, and he goes, "Well, how was it?" And I go, "Well, I told him, I'm still gonna recommend you watch it, make up your own opinion on it, and same thing with what I say on here. I'm pretty clear when I'm pretty sure something's right. I'm pretty clear when I'm not so sure it's right, and on a lot of stuff I tell you, hey, I'm doing the best I can. I don't always remember stuff all that great now. So don't trust me or trust me, but verify. Look it up. Could be wrong. I really try to be honest about that. And but I told him, I go, it came off as shit. And if I start coughing too much, I'll end the stream. Uh, but it really seemed like shit. And I don't know if the whole thing was, but most of it it almost like they phoned it in. I don't think there was anything new. I think what they did is they clipped a whole bunch of old footage from like old documentaries or specials or whatever. And the thing that gets me is, and here's the thing: if it's brand new and they grabbed all those clips and they put it in, then it's like, well, then okay, what's your agenda? Uh, because a lot of it seemed like it was old debunked stuff that they were putting out there. And to me, there's a lot of stuff, but again, it seems like they wanted to do this on the cheap. They just wanted to throw some shit together and throw it out there. Uh, that's my opinion. But they, but because that's the thing. And if they showed an old one, I can cut them a little bit of slack if it was an old one as is, but I don't think it is. I think what they did was they took parts of different interviews or whatever, and they look like they were old enough. They would have been, before podcasts and video logs and shit like that. Might even be before the internet. A couple of the people that they featured in there, I don't think are alive anymore. Most prominently, Dr. Stanton Friedman. Uh, he's when he was alive and he was young, oh, sorry, Patches. When he was alive and when he was young, he was a nuclear rocket scientist. And you don't hear about it because they don't fly those things in the atmosphere. But I can't remember which movie it was, but there was a movie where they were like gonna save the world from an asteroid or something like that. Well, they featured, I think, nuclear powered rockets in that, and he was asked about it. He goes, "Oh no, that's not theoretical. That's a real thing." But he goes, "Nuclear powered rockets travel a lot faster than chemical rockets do." Um, but no, some of the stuff they did in there, um, like I got to be honest with you, uh, I can't go from memory. Feel free to look it up and then make up your own decision. But like one of the things they were talking about in there was I think Project Mogul, and I'm not even sure they got that right. So my wonder is, and they forget. To me, I'll have to watch it again. Maybe I'm forgetting stuff because I watched it. I was awake. I don't think I fell asleep. I really don't. But after I fed the cats, I crawled back into bed, put the blankets on, and some of it I had my eyes closed and was just listening. So maybe I got it wrong. I don't know. I don't think I did though. But the um I need mending books. I'm gonna probably keep doing this like because I'm not feeling all that good today. But this is something I can do, and I can shoot the shit about whatever and go from there. But pretty much on the weekends, if I do a Minecraft stream, at least for the short term, if I do a stream on the weekend, at least part of it is gonna be a fishing stream. Excuse me, I get the hiccups. And but no, they talked about Project Mogul, and I'm not entirely sure. Maybe I missed something, but if memory serves, and I could be wrong on this, Project Mogul involved anthropomorphic dummies. And the other thing they were talking about, and they were calling it, I think, Project Mogul, but it was something where they were sending balloons up in the air, and maybe they talked about two different programs, and I'm getting the names mixed up or wrong. I don't know. But Project Mogul, I always thought was something where they were doing experiments with these anthropomorphic dummies. They were dropping them from high altitude with parachutes to study it. But this one here, if I'm remembering it right, and maybe I got it wrong, it was something where they were launching these balloons, and they were saying that was in the 50s. They were launching these balloons to monitor nuclear tests in Russia or something like. They were monitoring Russia, and then they were high enough in the air that if things happened, that they would be able to register it and whatnot. Kind of like those balloons they allegedly said China set loose in our country, and the yeah, because they brought that up, and I'm watching now one. I think this is where they got some of the footage, but they didn't mention any of this in there. But the reporters were asking the Air Force. They're like, "Well, you're talking about these balloons, saying that the Air Force got that wrong. It wasn't a UFO. It was these balloons from program project whatever." And they're like, "Yeah, but that project was like 10 years after. That project didn't exist until 10 years after Roswell." Well, then they started blaming it on time compression. And that was another thing they brought up. They're like, "Oh, well, clearly, because they're like, oh, Jesse Marcel, he didn't say anything until all these years later, and they were saying that he thought aliens were real because of like movies and conspiracy theories and whatnot. And the thing is, his son has come forward. His son's dead now. I think they were saying in this documentary that every living person who had ever seen or touched the UFO is now dead. With Jesse Marcellus, his son, and other people that were there, other witnesses, people lived in the town, they're all dead now. So there's no living witnesses anywhere to Roswell. And but they made the accusation that he knew what he knew when it happened, and then years later he got like mentally defective. Well, the thing is, if you know people who knew him, they said no, he was saying it was an alien when it happened. His family said it. He goes, well, yeah, he brought wreckage over to us. and he said that it was, you know, it was wreckage from something that was likely not from this world. The day it happened. And then, you know, but they were trying to be respectful of him. They were trying to be respectful of Friedman, because Roswell was something that was kind of forgotten until Stanton Freeman got an interview with Jesse Marcel, retired Army guy, who told him about it. Well, then he started looking into it, and they didn't try to tarnish Dr. Friedman at all. They or professor. I don't remember if he's considered a doctorate of science or if he's a professor. But they didn't try to smear him, and they really didn't try to smear. There's, oh, you know, years later, you know, the time compression, you know, they didn't really call it that, but they go years later, you know, he got it all mixed up and whatnot and blah blah blah. Well, then they put this guy on. Uh, I think he's the owner or editor of Skeptic Magazine or something like that. Shermer or something like a Mike Shermer, I think it is. Well, then he comes out and he starts going, oh, well, you know, yeah, his son said that, but, you know, he was an 11-year-old. You know, what does he know? And, you know, kids, they believe whatever their parents are telling them, and, you know, and it's smearing the kid now. Now they're throwing, you know, Jesse Marcel Jr. under the bus. And, but, you know, the thing is, you take that Michael Shermer, he was on, and I've never seen him in a UFO debate. At least I don't remember it. But I do remember, like, vaguely watching him on Joe Rogan. They were talking about the Kennedy assassination. Well, Joe Rogan either caught him in a lie or caught him in some dumb fuckery where he didn't know what he was talking about, because he was throwing out all this stuff about the Kennedy assassination, and I think the first one was the magic bullet. When he goes, well, yeah, the magic bullet, you know, that was like that was a pristine bullet, you know. There, you know, and he was kind of, I don't remember if he exactly said it, but he's kind of hinting that it looked just like you took it out of the box. And Rogan, and this is where I think Rogan shines. He doesn't do well when he's trying to talk about stuff he doesn't know anything about, and that's normal. Some people are better at bullshitting when they don't know, not Rogan. But when it's something where he's just asking people stuff, whether he knows about it or not, or something where he knows a little something about it, and he can bring receipts to the party, evidence to the party, because that cat, she comes in here, and I was all comfortable. I had my feet down. She comes in, and I put my feet up, I put my blanket on. She sits with me for like 30 seconds and then leaves. She'll come back in a couple minutes now that I took the blanket off. And, but oh, I gotta prepare you. I got sweatpants on, and I'm not doing it on purpose. I'm definitely not doing it to try and get readings. But if I have to get up and go to the bathroom, I still got a gut, but I have lost enough weight, at least in the legs and the butt, from having this broken ankle. At first, I thought it was my sweatpants just getting old, and I'm like, God, I really wish I could get some new ones. But first, that's what I thought it was. Well, then it's kind of cold, so I'm not feeling like wearing my shorts anymore. Well, I put on a pair of pants, and those are not sweatpants. Those are denim. And when I first got those, they were comfortable. Then they got a little tight, and it would float between being comfortable and tight. They were so fucking baggy on my ass, it wasn't even funny. It really wasn't. And so it's not my sweats, it's my butt. So if I get up, my sweats might slide down. I got underwear on, but I'm really not trying to do it for ratings or for, you know, and hey, feel free to laugh. I'd be laughing if it was happening to somebody else. I really would. But, you know, if my sweatpants fall down, understand it's really not a gag. I'm not doing it for fun. It's just my legs and my butt have lost so much weight since I broke my ankle, and I'm fine with that. Mostly from just not being able to use my legs as much as I used to, but it is what it is. And but But yeah, they did that, and just the little games, and like I don't remember them because again, I think what they did was they were taking old footage, and it was before it was before these stuff was debunked. Why they're still running it, and I really kind of wonder if they're doing it at the behest of the military or if they're doing it at the behest of certain corporations trying to dissuade people from wanting discovery done. So that brings us, hey, let's get the call to actions going. Please write anybody you vote for if you don't mind, and let them know we need to legalize assisted suicide. Uh, I watched my mom die in hospice, and I got health issues. They do not seem to be getting better. The government, and again, the government is what the government is. I don't think they're singling me out. I don't think this is payback for anything. We have got a system in this country where they just don't take care of people that are disabled. Uh, they just don't. And then if people, and here's the thing, even if you get on disability, they don't pay you enough. They really don't. They pay you enough so you have to choose between having a place to live or being homeless so you can afford your groceries, or starving and being homeless so you can afford your medicine. They don't really give you enough to take care of all of that. They just don't. And so it is what it is. But I don't. I gotta do something about this fish here. What do we got? Luck of the sea. Oh shit, that's the one I need. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and put this guy back. Yeah, luck of the sea, the one it cuts down on the fish. I hate the fact that it's got vanishing on, but this will work until I get something better. But this one here should get it to where I'm not bringing in as much fish, and it's still got the lure too, so I'll get more name tags, books, and other shit. Hopefully. But there's something that came out where the original photo. And this is another thing. You look at that photo where they had Jesse Marcel. You tell me. You go and find it. Look at Google something like Roswell UFO wreckage photo or something like that, or Major Marcel Roswell wreckage photo, and it should bring that up. And it's a military guy. It should be black and white, and he's sitting there kneeling. He's like crouched down amongst all this wreckage, and all this wreckage, and he's looking up. You go look at that. And if you're a good judge of character, if you've had a life where you've had experiences, I don't think you can possibly look at that and not think, yeah, there's a guy who's looking like, you got to be fucking kidding me, right? And because what happened was, and again, I'm not making this up. This is all factual. I'm positive. I'm 100%. I'm 110% sure of this. What you had was, and I believe this I'm not as sure about, but I think it was in 1947. So it's been a couple years after the end of World War II, and the military base, the Army base, was the only base that had people who were trained and like authorized or whatever to release nuclear missiles. Literally the tip of the spear. Literally the tip of the spear. This was not Gomer Pyle or Beetle Bailey or any. These were the tip of the spear. There was a thing where they had a UFO thing at the White House, literally, this was in the 1950s, I think. They kept having UFOs flash the radar by the White House. And when the thing showed up, they would scramble the best fighters they had. Well, as the fighters neared the area, they'd vanish. Like the radar, they just disappear like somebody flipped a switch, just gone. And it happened multiple times that day, where as soon as the military got there, boom, they're gone. And somebody made the comment because they said, "Oh, well, that was like a flock of geese or swamp gas. The early radar wasn't that good." And there were people that knew a little something about it. I don't, but there were people that knew, and they go, "Yeah, there's still differences. It wasn't like one thing would show up if it was geese or planes or what. Yeah, something might show up if it was swamp gas. Something might show up if it was a huge flock of birds." But he goes, there were differences. Like it wouldn't show. He goes, there were differences between hard targets and not hard targets, like metallic, reflective hard targets. And he said, if you had people who were constantly making that mistake for the area of Washington D.C., he goes, they would have been replaced. They would have. He goes, they might have still been working radar, but it definitely wouldn't have been around the Capitol that close. Basically around that time, right after World War II, when we knew Russia was working on nuclear, there just wouldn't. They wouldn't be allowed. And it's the same way here. If you had people that incompetent, they would have been, either transferred or shit canned at Roswell. These guys were the tip of the spear, but. The Roswell base, the guy was either a colonel or general, the base commander. He released a press release stating that they had found an alien UFO, crashed or whatever. Now, again, tip of the spear, best planes, best training, best exposure. If these morons could not tell the difference between a balsa wood and reflective material radar balloon or whatever the fuck they were, again, I don't think and Jesse Marcel was not transferred. None of the other people were transferred. It's kind of like with that Rendlesham Forest incident. It's like this was a nuclear equipped base, joint base in England between England and us. And if you had a bunch of Americans who got high or had delusions or something and were seeing things, they would have been transferred out of there. There was there's a former minister of defense guy. I don't know if he was actually the minister of defense, because I think it could be two different guys, but I think I saw the same guy in two different ones, and one of them they had him listed as a former minister of defense, and they had the year, and then one where he gave it later, where he appeared to be older, but it could have been a separate guy. They basically listed him as somebody working at the Ministry of Defense, not the Minister of Defense. And this was the first really intelligent thing, and I mean not saying they weren't, but this is the first really, really gripping and intelligent thing I ever heard about this. He said, well, he goes, my opinion on this, and he goes, I just want to be clear, I only know it's publicly available. This happened after my time, and he goes, and I have been given no information from the government on anything that is not publicly available. I know what I know, like you do, from what I've seen. But he said, I would have to say that there are only one or two possibilities. Either what they reported is true, or pretty much an entire military base, multiple times, everybody that was on duty had the same shared delusion. And he goes, I would say either one is bad for a nuclear armed military base. He goes, I really think that is something that maybe they should worry about and get some answers to. And the thing that really shocked me was Marco Rubio. I saw him do an interview on it, and he basically said the thing that he said something real similar. He goes, you got to understand. He goes, we're getting these reports, and he goes, I'm not saying I believe them. But he goes, we've got people that currently have high level security clearances working on secret projects that are saying this is true. And he goes, so either we got high level people with security clearances that are, crazy, or this is true. And he goes, either way, I find this troubling. It really didn't matter what it was. It was a big deal either way. He was like, he narrowed it down to like, look, it's one of two things. Either these guys are nuts and they have a security clearance, or these guys are telling us the truth. And he goes, either way, we as the government need to get to the bottom. It's like, hey, that might be the single greatest conclusion this guy has ever fucking come to. Again, I I really am not a I really, regardless of what people say, I'm a fact-based person. I'm not really a politics-based person. And hey, Mark Rubio is useless on 99.9% of the topics you might get him on, but this is one of those topics where he's making sense. They got these high security clearance people coming in and telling them, yeah, this shit's true. Maybe we should listen a little bit. I'm just saying. And but no, the one thing they didn't do was somebody like God, I think they did it back in the 80s or the 90s. It might have been after that, but I think they did it back in the 90s. Somebody used computer equipment to process that photo where Jesse Marcel was standing by the wreckage. One of the photos that was released, or one of the photos we have access to now, it was that general, and I'm not sure, it might be General Ramey, but it's the general that Eisenhower dispatched down there to take charge of it after that base commander said, "Hey, we found ET or whatever," and it's a memo that he's holding in his hands. Well, you couldn't tell anything back then, but nowadays the computers could analyze it, and you could read a fair amount of it, and it sounded like the memo was discussing basically, making the crash and the retrieval and the alien bodies a secret. It was like a memo. He probably ended up showing it to Marcel, and they're like, "Hey, this is from Eisenhower. This is what we're ordered to do." And it was basically letting them know that they were to take charge of that situation and make this a non-problem. Don't go public with it. Get a lid on this. Find an excuse of why this isn't why this isn't what it is. Make up a lie. And that I don't believe was brought up. But again, I don't think they did anything new. But it's like, again, why are they doing this now when we're on the verge of Congress maybe passing some disclosure laws to basically get to the bottom of what's going on here? And I just wonder if National Geographic willingly or unwillingly is being a tool for a secret part of government, or the military-industrial complex, as Republican President Eisenhower referred to it on his way out of office. But that really, again, I tried to find it on YouTube, and I found other shit. I might look it up on see if I can get it somewhere else, but I'm trying to find what I actually watched, because I can't really watch it in here. I'm not even sure if I could watch it if I shut this off and went to the TV, and I don't think I have the ability to watch it. I might be wrong. Uh, but my God, man, yeah, I don't know what to say. I just don't know what to say. But Oh, oh, another thing. I hate to do this, but it's really bugging the shit out of me. It really is. Um, they're and this is not a right or a wing left issue. This is a stupid and a smart issue. It's kind of like when I was working at GM. I was basically using the problem solving process, and the group leader and the shift leader, they were just not. I want to give you a couple examples of what I'm talking about, and I I did one because I kind of had it with the shift leader. The shift leader ended up getting moved out of management, and I'm not gonna say I did or didn't have. I think I contributed to it, but she was in trouble for other shit because they gave her they gave her extra manpower because it ended up failing, and it failed because of the management people they had. They basically set the whole thing up to fail. Uh, they wanted to do team rotation. They wanted basically the whole team to rotate, and they're really, and even some members of the union are like, well, if it's done right, this would actually be a good thing. Um, all the local management wanted to do was just check off a box and make corporate fucking wet. That's all it was. And they had given her all this extra manpower so that she could get the team rotation done. Well, I found out from someone else in management because what they were doing was violating, at least the spirit, if not the letter of the contract, like they had done a lot with these temps that they had. Um, they had a temp running around doing repairs and, hacking into the computer system to mark them as repaired and that. And they had me stuck on the line training somebody. They should have had her training somebody. And because I really should have got people that knew the job. I had a vacation. And vacations, if you're not in a union, a lot of this stuff isn't going to make. I used to watch this with my dad. He tried to explain stuff to us, and it really didn't make any sense because if you didn't work in a union, you didn't understand it. Like there's a guy, Steve Ratner. I see him on MSNBC a lot, and he was involved. I don't know how much. I don't know if he was really involved or if just he studied, but I think he was involved in the discussions with the GM bailout back in '08, '09, 2010, something like that. And he was on Morning Joe, and he's not a bad guy, but he didn't realize it was that Dunning Kruger. He just didn't realize that he didn't know enough about the subject to know that he didn't know anything about the subject. But he made some comment. He goes, "Oh, these unions, they're just nuts. If you have pencils, you can't touch pens, and if you do this, you can't touch paper clips." And it was all nonsense. But he was just all he was trying to do, kind of like when they say, "Oh, well, you're arguing apples and oranges." He really wasn't trying to be, dishonest or misleading. But it's like when you talk to somebody and they're making an argument, and you're like, "Oh, well, you're talking about apples and oranges." And that's kind of what and I can't even say that. He just didn't know what he was talking about. And I don't know, because what he said made no sense to me, and I worked there. But I think this is what he was talking about. Like, there was a thing that I really didn't become aware of until I became a team leader. Like, as a team leader, I could put defects in the system. As a team leader, I could mark them as repaired. As a team leader, I was not allowed to mark them as final. Or they had a term for it, and I might have the wrong term. But I couldn't mark them as finished or final or whatever. But I couldn't buy them off. Like if I marked something repaired in the computer, like if I put in a defect and I fixed it and I marked it as repaired, if somebody in inspection did not verify it and mark it as done, that would be in the system, and like once it goes that pay point, it's going to start setting off, it's going to start like, wait a minute, you got a defect that's never been repaired that's now offline. It's going to the customer. You got to fix it. That kind of, and that, and really that's a good thing. Well, that I think is where he. But again, it could have been something else. Could have been a whole management thing that I never dealt with. But that's what I think he was talking about because with team leaders, that's what we could do. And repair guys, I think, were the same way. They could put defects in, they could mark them as repaired, but somebody in inspection had to mark them as verified or finalized or whatever. And then another thing they did was if you couldn't, and I'll tell you this, these things got started because of fuck ups. They're I can tell you for a fact these kind of things did not get started because somebody. Now jobs got eliminated for this, but these things that he was complaining about did not start in a vacuum. Usually, what happened is somebody fucked something up. Somebody high up in the company insisted that something get done about it, and then what would happen is, for good or bad, something would get in place. If I don't forget, I'll elaborate on this from something that happened on one of my jobs before my plant closed in Wisconsin, which I always found funny because it happened every time we got new group leaders or foremen. We called them foremen then. Every time we got new group leaders in the area and they saw it, they'd be like, "Oh, I'm going to get that taken care of." And after the first couple times, I just be like, "Hey, yeah, you get," I'm like, "You go," and then you ask them like a few weeks later, "Hey, when are we getting rid of this?" And they'd be like, "Yeah, we're not getting rid of that." They found out, they fucked around and they found out, but they came in there with just, full of energy and good ideas, and it just got crushed by the higher ups. And um, but anyways, like for me, I could not mark anything as verified or final or whatever. Repair guys couldn't either, but we could put defects in and we could mark them repaired. If you were in inspection, you could put a defect in and you could mark it final, but you couldn't repair it. You couldn't mark it as repaired. And if you were in management, you if you were in management, you could not do anything but enter in a defect. That's why when my group leader had that temp running around doing repairs, she showed her how to get into the computer and mark them repaired. Well, the thing I don't understand about that is group leaders can't even mark stuff. So whose login information did she give that girl to go in and mark these defects as repaired? That's the mystery I never got an answer to. Because I saw her over there showing how to enter these into the computer. Well, whose fucking identity and password were you using to get in there? Because she couldn't. It's not like she could have gave her hers. Because group leaders are just not, or they're not supposed to be allowed to do that. They're not supposed to be able to mark them as final either. That has to go through either team leaders or repair people to repair them, and has to go through inspection to get them verified like that. I never understood that. And but that's what he was talking about. Well, there's a very good reason they do that. And and it was one of the big cardinal things my group leader. I think that's why when push came to shove, she got pushed out of management. She got moved over to engineering. She was not allowed to be a manager, a management person anymore after the shit she did. But yeah, she was given all this extra manpower so they could do these team rotations. And the big thing that they were doing that for was to cut down on injuries. Well, like when I was on third shift, it wasn't my team. I don't know if Andy passed away a few years later, but the guy that had that team, my buddy, he was a good guy. I only knew him from down there, but he was a really good guy. And he he was either gone on the line or he was out getting a repair. Well, there was this older lady that worked on his, and I really, God, I can't remember her name. I want to say it was Sherry, but I'm not entirely sure. Really, really sweet old. I mean, you didn't want her mad at you, whether it was real or imaginary. You didn't want her mad at you. She was. You didn't want her mad at you, also, but she was a hell of a nice person. She was a hell of a nice person, and she was. I think she might have been older than I am now, but she had health issues. You could tell when she was walking, she had health issues. Uh, I don't know how bad it was, but you could tell that she was not walking normal. That whatever it was, I couldn't tell you if it was problems with her legs, problem with her back, problem with her neck, but she had something because you could just tell that she was not walking normal. And she called me over, and she goes, Casey, they want me to learn this job so I can rotate. And I go, okay. And she goes, I got restrictions. And I go, okay. I go, you do not have to. I'm not trying to butt in. I go, it's none of my business. But I go, if you want my help, I need information. I go, can you tell me what your restrictions are? And I told her, I go, here's the thing. I go, if you're lying to me, if it comes out you're wrong, even if you're not lying to me, if you're just wrong, I go, one, this is only going to be a temporary reprieve, and I go, I will probably never trust you to help you again. So I go, don't, and I go, I'm not trying to be mean, but I go, if I find out later you lied to me or you were wrong, I go, I probably won't trust you ever again. So I go, I'm just trying to be honest here. She goes, oh no, I wouldn't lie to you. I go, that's fair enough. I just want you to understand, because that's a thing you have with the GM people, the union people, and management. It's really all of them. Some of them are just lying ass motherfuckers. They absolutely are. And I just, like they'll make up, like that one girl that was on my team, she made up having a broken ankle, I think, so she could get somebody fired in management. That's fucking wrong. I'm sorry. But she made that up. And I after that I would never trust her again. I wouldn't. It's like she didn't do it to me, but it's like, look, she's a lying ass person. She really is. I would never trust her again. Like if she told me it was raining outside, I'd want to go look out a window. I wouldn't necessarily trust her on it. And but she told me that she wasn't supposed to be working over her shoulders. And of the stuff she told me, there was at least one or two things that she was doing wrong. And I go, well, what is wrong with you? She goes, I got neck issues, and she basically, so again, yeah, all this makes sense. And I go, do you mind if I talk to our foreman, Deb, about this? She goes, no, that's fine. I go, okay. And I went up to Deb and I go, look, Deb, I go, it's not my team. And she goes, well, yeah, but you're covering it right now for Andy. And I said, like I said, I can't remember if he was out of the area or if he didn't show up. I go, but I told her, I go, look, I don't have a dog in this fight. It's not my team. She goes, well, yeah, but you're covering it right now. I go, yeah. And I told her, and I think it's Sherry, but I might have the name wrong. I go, Sherry just called me over, and she told me that you guys got her rotating. And she said, yeah. I go, well, I go, I'm not so sure it's a good idea. I go, I'm not a medical expert, and I go, I only have what she's telling me. But I go, she's telling me she's got work restrictions where she's not supposed to be. There's certain, the only one I can remember is she wasn't supposed to be working above her head. Like she wasn't supposed to be working above her head, and she had to work above her head to do this. I go, but there were two or three things that I thought were an issue, and I go, yeah, she's not supposed to do this, she's not supposed to do that, and she's not supposed to work over her head. And I go, looks like she's doing all three, but I go, I'm not an expert on this. And Deb kind of looked at me. She was actually a really good foreman. She's really good. I don't know if she was a good foreman. Let's just say she was a really good person, and it transferred over to her being a good foreman. But she looked at me. She goes, "You go ahead and tell her to get back on her job, and we'll just call this off." I go, I go, I kind of figured you'd say that, but I just wanted to find out. And because I told her I didn't want to take responsibility. She goes, no, you did it fine. She goes, if you'd have told her to go back, I'd have been okay with that too once you explained it to me. So I went and told her, I go, yeah, Deb said, I went right over. I didn't run, but I didn't dilly-dally, and I got over there, and I go, hey, Deb just said go back to your job. She goes, we're done with the training for now. She'll look into it. And I go, she didn't say anything else, but I go, I think she either remembered or she believes you. But I go, she'll look into it, but we're done training. And then, Sherry was really grateful on that. She was really, I mean, she's one of the people I miss down there. She was from Michigan, I think. But I really miss her. She was a good person. I mean, just a work buddy. I never hung out with her outside work, but she was actually one of those fun. Every now and then she was having a bad day, but usually she was a bright spot of being in that area. She's a pretty good person. And the but yeah, that's what they did, and they wanted to do these things. Well, the problem is there were so many of these people that were down there that had gotten hurt. Anybody that had been there for more than like 10, 15, 20 years, a lot of them were injured. A lot of them had permanent restrictions that unless you basically started making those jobs better, they were never going to be able to do that rotation, because some of those people, it took forever to find a job they could do. And there was like, there might be, if they're, I'm throwing numbers out, I'm making this up, but like some of those people, if there's say like 1,000 jobs in that plant, there might be 50, 100, or 200 of them that they could do. All the rest of them were undoable with their restrictions. Well, you're never going to get rotation to work like that, when people are that banged up. And, there was something, this was the other thing I was going to talk about. I couldn't remember what it was. I had something on last night. It was a clip on YouTube, and it was a podcaster or a streamer or something like that. And what he was doing was he was showing clips of Jesse Ventura. And luck of the sea mending. What the fuck is it with this curse of vanishing shit? I might have to get another chest here just for the bows and the... What do we got for here? This might be a mistake because I can't see everything. But fucking A. But yeah, I got that thing on now, so I'm getting more of the good stuff. And oh shit. But and yeah, cause I think I'm pretty much done with the Roswell one. You need to go check it out. But it was a National Geo one. And it was just recently on, but I don't know if it's an older one they put on. And I can't think of the name of it, but there was this interview. They were showing interview clips of Governor Jesse Ventura, and somebody, and this kind of goes in with what I'm talking about with GM, and then maybe I can remember where I was at in the Roswell thing, but the first clip he showed was Jesse Ventura saying that there should not be a billionaire. And there was somebody who had made a comment on Threads this morning, and it was about the rich people. And I made the comment, I go, yeah, Jesse Ventura, somebody showed clips of him in interviews, and I go, he was basically stating flat out that, billionaires didn't deserve to exist, because I go, first thing he said was nobody works hard enough to earn $1 billion. He goes, they just don't. And then the other thing he said was, because he goes, I've had two of, I think, the some of the hardest jobs you could have on this world. And he said the second hardest one I ever had, it was Bud's training. When he wasn't a SEAL because the SEALs didn't exist. I think he was what they called an underwater demolition UDT or something like that, and underwater demolition teams or something. They later became the SEALs. So people like him are welcome at the SEAL reunions and stuff like that when they have them, because they're kind of considered to be like in the SEALs because they were in the unit to begin. It's like, I think at one time, and I don't know this, but I think at one time, I think most of them are dead now, but I think at one time, if a Marine Raider had showed up at a Marine recon thing, they would have been welcomed as brothers too. And World War II, they had Marine Raiders, and then I don't know when they started, but I think that group morphed into what is called, the recon team, the recon units in the Marines. And but he said, he goes, yeah, I did that one. And he goes, I would really love one of these billionaires or politicians to go and put up with that crap I did in Buds for $62 every other week. Because he said that's what they were getting paid back then. He goes, I'd really love to see one of those billionaires or one of those politicians, running their mouth, actually go down and try and do that and live off of that pay on the base. And he said the other one, it was a job he had right after high school when he was like 18, and he worked for a construction company. And he goes, before I tell you how crappy this job was, he goes, I'll let you know. He goes, they paid us a couple bucks above minimum wage. He goes, which isn't much now, wasn't much back then. He goes, I think it was worse. But he goes, we got paid a couple bucks more than what minimum wage was. And, and hey, just so you know, now that those contracts seem to be getting finalized for the big auto companies, it's one of the non-union auto companies is actually going to raise its pay for its workers. And this has always been the case when you have like good union jobs in a sector, and you see other non-union workers in that sector get a bump because, and I can't tell you if it was Toyota or Nissan, but it was one of the non-union automakers. They give a raise because, see, here's the thing. They don't want their people to unionize. So even in the same sector, other people benefit, rising. Like when you look at unions, when they do the right thing and they succeed, that rising tide lifts all boats, not just the yachts. When you've got this trickle-down bullshit that Republicans are so fond of, it raises, the Maserati crowd like Joe Manchin and Sinema, but it never floats down to the working people. But with unions, those rising tides lift all the boats, not just the yachts. And so that's kind of cool. That's really cool. And the support that was shown for the auto workers, and that support that was shown for the Screen Actors Guild, the writers, and now the actors are still on strike. They because of the support that's shown for them, that governor of California, he felt comfortable making the minimum wage for California $20 an hour, and the minimum wage for hospital workers $25 an hour. So, you keep that love and that support going, and it ends up helping a lot of people out there. It really does. And but he said, he goes, I did that job because I was 18 years old and I worked 4 days, 10 hours a day. So I got Friday, Saturday, and Sunday off. And he goes, when you're 18 and you want to go party and meet girls and all that, he goes, you're going to take that regardless of what you have to do. And he goes, and what I did was I ran the jackhammer 10 hours a day. I ran a jackhammer. And he goes, I would love to see those billionaires and whatnot try to run one of them for 10 hours a day. He goes, I would love to see them do that. Absolutely. And, and I'm like, yeah, right on, man. It's like, yep. And I did. I posted that and I mentioned it. Fuck, he either deleted it because it got a few likes on mine for quoting it and commenting, but he just deleted it or he blocked me. I don't know which. But I'm thinking, oh my God, he must have been one of these MAGA turds, on that pro right wing, communist movement or whatever for corporate America, for that corporate welfare America. But yeah, that blew me away. Well, anyways, they had so many people that got hurt. Uh, they couldn't do those rotations, and like when I got bumped to second shift, she had been given all this extra people to get that cross training done. Well, she pissed it all away because, and I don't know if she was related to somebody or if she was somebody's girlfriend, but something was definitely going on. Just don't know what. But because I don't know, but she had pissed away all her manpower, letting that girl sit down and not have to work, and doing everything she could to make sure that girl didn't have to do a job she didn't want to. That she never got that cross training done. Because somebody else, because I was pissed off. I told somebody because I couldn't get my group leader wouldn't come down. I told him, I go, hey, I need a committee call. I need a committee call because they got me on the line, and they got two team leaders off the line. I go, one of them should be on the line, and they should be getting me freed up because they were doing some training or something, and it was a group leader in the area, but it wasn't our group leader. And she goes, well, you got to understand they need the manpower because she goes, your group leader was supposed to get all this training done so they could rotate, and they're really trying to do that right now. I go, hey, that's great. I go, if that's what happened, then I go, you need to punish her. I go, not me. I go, you don't get to punish me. I go, this is not a thing. You don't get to have two team leaders standing around up there because my team leader was too incompetent to get her job. Fire my team leader. Or not team leader. Fire my group leader. And get one of those team leaders down here. I go, you shouldn't have two team leaders covering that. I go, I'm the fucking team leader at the end of the line. This is where stuff gets put in. I go, you guys are going to have stuff going off the end of the line or you're going to have downtime. Because there's nobody down here minding the fucking store. And she, when I said, look, then fire her. I'm sorry. It's not. I go, I shouldn't be paying for her fuck ups. I go, if she's too incompetent to do her job, then that's her problem. It's not my problem. And she goes, well, the shift leader's going to come and talk to you. I go, look, I don't care if she talks to me or not, but I go, I want that goddamn committee call. And this was the thing that was funny. You like when one of these things happened, the fucking joke of a committee man. This is the guy that they always said was looking at kiddie porn on the company computer. I think it was just regular porn. I think he had, I don't know for sure, but I suspect he had naked pictures of the girls that were getting all the special treatment. That was probably part of the arrangement for them to get the special treatment. But he came out and blamed me that night. She was running around with somebody else's repair stamp and bypass key. And I put in a committee call. I wanted the zone guy. No, actually, he wasn't the zone guy. I think I did put in a committee for the zone guy, and I got the committee man because he never came out himself. And he came out and he acted like it was my fucking fault. And I go, what? And he goes, well, yeah, this, that, or the other thing. I go, you know what, fuck you. I go, I'll take care of this myself. Because he wasn't there to represent me. He was there to represent management and everybody else that was involved in that fucking scam. He wasn't there to represent me. So I can't remember. I think that's because I was getting ready to go out of town. I had a vacation planned. Well, the last day before I went on vacation, I reached out to the regional union or the international union, and I told them what was going on. And I'm like, hey, look, I go, I don't know what's going on. I really don't. But I told him what happened, and I go, that clown that I got for a committee man, I go, he just got elected out of office anyways. But I go, the crap I got from him is this is all my fault because this shit's going on. And I go, look, if you guys don't get some union reps down here who actually want to do their job, I go, you might as well take GM off the building and put fucking Toyota on it, and then we can get rid of you union guys in here. Well, by the time and I can't remember, that might have been earlier, but when I got a hold of the international union or the regional union, when I came back from vacation, all of those people that had been voted out got removed early. Like it's like our national election. They have the election today. Like when we vote for president and Congress, we have that election at the beginning of November, and you don't replace them until January. Congress goes in, and I think on the 5th or 6th, and the president goes in on the 20th of January the next year. And this is the same kind of thing. It ain't quite that long, but when I came back, all of those people that had lost their, because they called up. It's my old shop chairman, and there's issues with him as far as I can tell. At least accusations. I believe him with some of the shit that I saw. I heard he sold us out to keep his brother from getting fired for being a drunk and attacking somebody or something like that. And I'm sorry. I got nothing against him or his brothers. But if that's true, if he sold me and the other membership out to protect his drunk ass brother, both of them should be fired. Both of them should lose any pension they had. That's just fucking wrong. Uh, they should be gone. That because you got to send it. It's like Trump. You got to send a message. That shit's just going to happen again. Oh, well, he got slapped on the wrist. I guess I can save my. I guess I can make up for my brother being a fucking drunk asshole. And I don't know, but he when I got back, he told me all of those people who'd been voted out because they called him up and started reading him the riot act, and he said, "Whoa, whoa, whoa!" He goes, "I'm not even in I'm not even in office yet." He goes, "I've been elected, but he goes, I'm not even in office yet. That didn't happen under my watch." Well, they ended up removing from what he told me. Now, if he lied to me, then I'm lying to you, but I'm not doing it on purpose. But he told me that all of those people got removed, and they moved everybody in like a couple weeks or a month early. And this just to give you an idea how serious this was, and but they and what was funny is he came out, and I don't know, I don't think anything came out of it. I hope it helped him in negotiations. But I got him to write a grievance to have them check every vehicle she was responsible for, 100%. Those doors, make sure they were done right. And I told him what I wanted. He started right. He didn't even fucking question it. He didn't argue it. He just started writing it. And the committee man, the new committee man, he goes, "You think they're going to do it?" He goes, "I don't care." He goes, "I'm going to write it." He goes, "It's a valid grievance. I'm going to write it." And he goes, "And we'll handle it at contract time." And I started smiling. But and then afterwards, he told me, he goes, "Well, if this had been the old union reps, the zone guy would have never come out here." And I go, "Yeah." And I go, "That's part of the problem with what was wrong with this union." I go, told him, I go, "This is my old shop chairman." I go, "They got a job to do." And I go, "I don't care if they're a zone guy. I don't care if they're a shop chairman. If they don't want to do their job, then they should go back on the line and we can vote in somebody." And he kind of looked at me because I'm like, they weren't used to this because it was a southern plant. I don't know that they were necessarily a right to work plant, but they were not a pro-union plant. And these people didn't realize, you don't work for your union. Your union fucking works for you. We really don't. But yeah, so they Jesus Christ. But that's the thing they did with that, and yeah, but and then to get onto this, I was doing the problem solving. Like when I had a problem that was outside my ability to fix or outside my responsibility to fix, because basically you weren't supposed to, like if I was down at the end of the line where I wasn't supposed to have to fix stuff day after day after day. Like like the last job I had when I was there, I was over in the inspection area. There was a girl in inspection. I think Mary was her name, and there was one night she had to write up something like 150 or 200 headlights. We do like at most around 500 vehicles a night. That was what we did. Like in a 10 hour in an 8 hour shift, we'd do about 500 or 550 lines, depending on defects and line speed and all that. And so you're talking about somewhere between just about half of your vehicles or pretty close to half of your vehicles every night had this one defect on it. And and that's not the way it's supposed to work. The way it's supposed to work, she gets a couple of them. People are supposed to walk the line back. They're supposed to alert the operator, and they just kept shipping that shit to the end of the line. So if you've ever bought a new car, doesn't matter if it's GM or not. I think they're all kind of the same. But if you've ever bought a new car and you got like some major fucking defect, a visible fucking defect, this is why you've gotten it. Because they've got these plants where management is just shipping this stuff. Because I'm not kidding you, I don't know how many times I watched management and they would get a defect and be like, there was one. Now this was a really, from if I remember this right, it happened before I started there, so I was told about it. And again, if I was lied to, then I'm lying to you, but I'm just not doing it on purpose. We had this foreman. She was over in Trim 4, I think. I'm not going to give you her name because she was a really nice person. I really shouldn't be doing it, but we'll just call her Kay. And she had been the group leader for the door line where I worked on. Well, now she was over in Trim 4. And there are people down there that'll know exactly who I'm talking about on second shift. And I guess she was a damn good boss when she was on the door line. Well, what happened was there are certain jobs. God, I can't remember what they called it. I might have it wrong, but I think we referred to them as scheduled jobs or something like that. That there was a name for it, and I can't remember what it is. Like the guys that put on the door panels, the guys that put on the steering wheels. The parts that they got, they were all from the sequence center. That part of material where the sequence center would sequence them, and then they'd send them out to you in a rack. So like if you were the door panel guy, when you got onto a new rack, you'd pick slot 1, 2, 3, 4, and then when you got to 20 or whatever, you'd rotate it and you'd take them out of the back. And I think it was 1 through 20 there, and there were sheets on there like I think we called them matrices, even on that. But there'd be a sheet on it, and it would tell you which door panel was supposed to be in each one. The steering wheels were the same. Well, up at the beginning of the line, they did that with, if I'm not mistaken, they did that with the locks. They did it with the door handles. I don't know if they do it anymore, but at the time I was there, they did it with the locks, the door handles. So like somebody out there would sequence what you were going to get. And then you'd take, like the guy would take the locks out and he'd put them on the door line. And then everybody that needed one of those locks would take out what they needed, put it in that door. And then when it got to the end of the line, one of my guys was supposed to take them out and put them in the door panel. And then when they got over to Trim 4, they would have a lock. When they got over to the door panel, they would have a lock for the glove box if needed. And then that way, by doing it that way, you only, you had your key, and your key sets were in there too. Like your keys would be in there, and we'd have to put those in the door panel to go over to Trim 4. And the ignition cylinder was in that bundle. And then that way, at the start of the door line, we basically set up everything involving the keys and the locks for the whole fucking vehicle. And the stuff we did on the door line, we installed. The stuff that was installed over in final line or trim 4, we sent that over and they dealt with it. And, well, what happened was somebody had screwed up on the door handles. And I wasn't there, and I want to be, my balls itch. I'm really sorry. I just want to be honest that I don't know if the operator screwed up or if I don't know if the operator screwed up or if the sequencing person screwed up. I will tell you this, and I experienced this down on the door line, and I experienced it a little bit assisting the team next to me with the mirrors. The people that were in the sequence center were giving an obscene amount of error proofing to make sure that we did not get the wrong parts. And they were given, I think, a fair amount of time to make sure we weren't getting bad parts. And all I can tell you is there were times at the end of the night, and like second shift was it. We didn't have a. Actually, there was a third shift, I guess, at that time. But like at the end of the shift, I'd get either the wrong door panel or I'd get a bad door panel. And here's the thing: if you guys are gonna fuck off, make sure you send me good parts. And what would happen was I had some stock out where I was at, and but I was out because they sent me so much bad shit at the end of the night, wrong parts, bad parts. I didn't have a spare for that one anymore. We had like one of each door panel, which we really shouldn't have been doing, but you know, the sequence center really fucked up a lot. And I'm not trying to be mean, it's just a fact. And you'd call them up and it's like, hey, I need a door panel. I'm out. I got to have one. And you get no answers. And this is like half hour, 45 minutes before the end of the shift. And what would happen is I wasn't getting any answers. I needed it. You know, and in some cases, I had to stop the line until I had that part. And it wasn't that far away, but I'd go out to the sequence center and then take me a little bit of time to find it. There'd be nobody out there. It looked like it looked like the Mary Celeste. Everybody was gone. And, you know, they were leaving work early. And it's, you know, and like at first they could just leave, but there were enough people pulling shit like that. Because when I worked here in Wisconsin and when I went down there, you badged in, but you did not have to badge out. You just didn't. Well, there were enough people getting caught leaving early down there that they finally started making us badge out. And then when I kind of talked about this recently, we had one guy that was going around down there threatening to shoot everybody. He ended up getting, he wasn't like one of these keyboard warriors, you know, whining and bitching online, you know, from their grandmother's basement or whatever. This guy was running around town telling everybody, yeah, his sister, he was such a fuck up. His sister fired him, and he was running around telling everybody he was going to come in and shoot up GM. I personally, he was doing it, I think, to a lot of people, but I personally knew one of them, and he was out there in his GM jacket or his GM sweatshirt or something like that. And this dude came up to me and goes, yeah, I hope you guys are ready. I'm going to come in and shoot you guys up one of these times. And I kind of linked it into that shit that was going on Ebony, because I'm like, you know, he kind of reminds me of those worthless husbands that are all mad because their wives were trying to get laid without them. I go, this is a guy, and I go, this is the thing you guys got to understand. And somebody deleted it, but I don't know how many people saw it before it got deleted. But I go, this thing you guys got to understand. I go, these guys aren't going after Thunder now because they can't get anywhere with him. So I go, they're attacking us. And I go, it's like this nut job down there. He was mad because he got fired. I go, I'm not saying this is right, but I go, he could have easily gone and shot his sister, the one that fired him. Instead, he was going to come in and shoot up all these people at work who he didn't know, he'd never met, who had nothing to do, because he didn't work for our company. He worked for the facility company. And, you know, he was going to come in and shoot us all up. Well, we're not the ones who got you fired. You want to tell you what? Go look in the mirror. Shoot that fucking guy. That's why you got fired. If this is a lesson that guy at the main place could have learned. if you're going to kill yourself anyways, and I'm not saying this is right, but if you are a person who your plan is to go shoot a whole bunch of people you don't know who are not responsible in any shape or way for your problems and then kill yourself, fucking just cut out the middleman and get to the end part. And again, this is why, one of those things, write your legislatures, write your people in office that you elect, write them and ask them to get suicide legalized. Make it legal so, maybe, just maybe, if this guy was so upset, if he was so hurt that he felt the need to go shoot a whole bunch of innocent people, if suicide was legal, if assisted suicide was legal, maybe he'd have just done the right thing and got, and like not killed all those people. Seriously. If we had a better thing for mental health in this country, maybe people like that would get off the street and they'd get some help before they harm themselves or others. But, the problem is the Republican Party will never go for that because it would take too many of their candidates, donors, and voters off the field. If these people get locked up and medicated, or if they get locked up and cured, they're going to have a smaller voter base. They're not going to have a donor base and all this other shit. They won't have as many. Think about it. If real mental health was going to take people off the street that were a danger to themselves or others, Jim Johnson, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lorena Bobbitt, Matt Gaetz, a lot of these people are either going to end up being in jail or they're going to end up in the mental asylum. One way or the other. There's just no way getting around it. And so I don't know what to tell you, but yeah, but that shit was going on, and so we had to deal with that, and I don't know, I just don't know, but anyways, to get back to the subject, but this was the shit that was going on in the the departments there. Well, I was trying to fix this shit, 'cause they would literally send me a door panel that had a rip like this in it. Helen Keller could have seen this thing from orbit. And, I had a shift leader that when I would go through all the trouble getting an email, or I'd call him, he always acted like I was fucking the dog. One time, because I couldn't get anywhere with him, so I started to, it's like every 30 days, or if, management appears to be unwilling or unable to do their job, you can escalate it. Usually it was 30 days. But every now and then, like the one group leader, she'd be like, well, I'm not doing that. I'm empowering you to do it. I go, okay, so you're telling me flat out you're not going to do it? And she goes, nope. So I just escalated it to her boss. She flipped the fuck out. She literally flipped the fuck out. There was one case where my team thought she was going to like fucking, punch, like hit me right out of my chair. And I called my committee man direct. I didn't put in it because I told her I go on a committee call, and she just kept fucking screaming at me and all this other shit. And I called them. Well, they could hear her on the phone, and they go, "What's going on?" I go, my group leader is verbally attacking me. I go, she's acting like a 3-year-old. She's just unhinged. And they go, we're on our way. And they fucking hauled that. They were there. That was the fastest I think I ever had him there. They were there. She should have been fired for that. I'm sorry. She literally should have been fired for that. And, but my committee man, a friend to everyone in management, that fucking, I can't remember what that dipshit's name was. We had the alternate committee. He was by far better. By far the better committee man. And it showed because the next election, he got, and I guess he told him, Brandt, that was the dude's name. I guess he told Brandt, he goes, or B, we'll just call him B. He told B, he goes, hey, I'm not trying to be mean, but you're either going to want to move up or you're going to want to move on, because he goes, I am running for committee man next time. And he was real calm. He told me, he goes, yeah, I'm letting him know. And he goes, so hopefully this shit'll end. Hopefully this shit'll end after the next election. And he did. He lost. He absolutely lost. Because I think there were enough people that saw, when he should have been doing his job, he was being a friend to management. And that just doesn't work. That just doesn't work at all. And, but yeah, she was out there doing that. And same thing with her boss. The shift. It was only one of them. The rest of the shift leaders I had really weren't that bad. It's like they just weren't. And at least from my standpoint, because most of the shift leaders that were in there, if you went to them with a real problem and you could explain to them why it was a real problem, they would. I mean, again, they might not succeed, but they'd at least try to help you out. And some of them were really good at helping you out. But this guy, and again, there's somebody I knew in management, somebody I didn't think ever lied to me. They told me that he actually worked behind the scenes, but from what I could see, that guy was useless. And because she was telling me, she goes, "Well, just so you know, he really was trying to get that stuff fixed." And I told her, I go, "Look, I go, okay, maybe I misjudged him, but I go, I got to tell you on some level, I would rather have somebody that's phoning it in that can get shit done than," she goes, "have somebody working hard who can't get anything." I go, "Yeah," because I go, and again, I go, I'm not trying to be mean to the guy, but I go, if you got a guy that's working his ass off, working his ass to the bone, and he can't get anything done, I go, he's absolutely fucking useless to me. I go, I don't mean it in a bad way, but, and she goes, no, she goes, I understand, but maybe I misjudged that guy, and like when he got involved with that group leader showing that temp how to hack into the computers to mark, instead of wanting to fire the group leader, he wanted to fire the temp. I'm sorry, when you're a temp and your group leader tells you to hack into the computer and mark stuff as repaired, if you don't do it, you're going to get fired. I mean, really, I mean, as bad as I think that person was, as horrible as I think the shit she was involved as was, on some level, group leader tells you to do something and you're a temp, you really don't have any union rights at that point. Group leader tells you to do something, you're going to do it, even if it's wrong, or you're probably going to get fired. No, I'm pretty sure. I don't really want to claim that I'm the one that did it, but I think I had. If I wasn't the cause of it, I think I had a lot to do with that assistant plant manager getting thrown out the back door. Because I don't completely understand it. I don't know if any of those temps were related to him, or if he was involved in whatever scandal was going on. But he seemed to van. And the other thing is, and again, there should be paperwork. There should be paperwork on this, and it should be borne out. They used to have us team leaders come in on the downtime to get trained on the andon system and all the other stuff. And I made a big deal that if they were going to have these LAs and ROs covering the line instead of the team leaders like they have, then they should have to start bringing them in on the down weeks and go through the same training we did. And I told my committee man, I go, I want a grievance. He goes, let me see if I can. He goes, can you give me a chance to get it done without the grievance? I said, absolutely. I go, I either want it written up or I want it done. I should have got the grievance written because there'd definitely be a copy of that. Well, he came back within a day or two. I didn't think I'd get it. I thought he came back within a day or two, and I guess I think it was the assistant plant manager had agreed that we would bring the RO or the ARs and the LAs in for that team leader training. And they only did it once. I wanted it to be a permanent fixture. It's like, hey, if this team leader training is so damn important, then fucking train them on it so they know how to do it. And there were people that actually left the LA group because they didn't want to come in on the downtime, but they did that once where there was at least once where they brought those in. I am pretty sure I'm directly responsible for that. But again, if you think about it, if you understand how the system works and you think about that, that tells you how bad whatever I had stumbled into, that tells you how big and how bad it was, because there's literally no rational reason why they should have done that. And yet that assistant plant manager fucking did it because he was trying to keep a lid on whatever was going on. He was trying to keep a lid on it. And so he was willing to do that. They shelled out a shitload of overtime for the AR group and the yellow. I thought that was pretty fucking hilarious. But yeah, I'm pretty sure I got rid of him, or at least had a lot to do with it. There was a group leader that got moved out of my group leader that got moved out of management. Well, anyways, I was dealing with her bullshit, and this is where I kind of snapped. And he actually didn't have anything to do directly with this one, but it's like the courts. I was using his other past history to just, dodge the bullet. But there was a problem, and I think I've told this story before, and if I am, I apologize. But the when I first started on the door line, you had the door panel with big metal thing. Basically, go look at a door. That's what I'm talking about. The thing that's painted. It's got the mirror stuck in. It's got the door panel on the inside and all that. Well, that comes out to us just pure metal. And then up at the beginning of the line, there was this thing. It was about this long, and it had two clips that stuck out of it. And somebody up the line, what they did is they reached inside the door and they snapped it into place. And then these clips, they kind of opened and they kind of slid open and then clamped down on it. And that was to keep that from falling out of the door panel. And then there were two screw holes in it. And then when my guys put the door panel on, they would screw the door into that bracket. And this thing was falling out before it even got to us. This thing would fall out on its own. There were times it would still be there. And because my guys, again, they had enough time to do their job. They did not have time to fucking inspect the door panel. And what would happen is there were a lot of times they'd put that door panel on and maybe putting it on would knock it out, or it had already fallen out. I mean, there were times where it came down and it was in there. You could see it was in there. And then when you're putting the door panel on, you'd hear it clang, you'd hear something drop. And if you don't get those well, one, you had to get that fixed or you wouldn't be able to put the door panel on. But if you had any screws or brackets fall out or fall in the door, you usually had to get them out because it would be a consistent rattle every time the car hit a bump or whatever. And that Brant, when he was the AR, there was one time where he was doing a repair and he dropped a screw in the door. And one of my guys go, hey, you got to get that screw out. And he looked in there. He goes, I don't see no rattle. That's what he said. And then he slapped the fucking door panel on it. Real piece of shit. Just real piece of shit. And that's literally what he told my guy. And they looked at me and I go, look, it's not my repair. I go, if you want, I can write it up. And I can write it up and put it in the computer. But I go, I don't know for a fact there's a screw in there. And they said, nah, don't worry about it, But they said, and he goes, you would have fucking looked. I go, yeah, if that had been my repair, I definitely would have looked. Because I go, I don't want to send that shit to the customer, And these people were from Indiana that were upset about. He was from Indiana too, but I really don't know what was fucking wrong with that guy. He really didn't care about quality. And I got an unbreaking 3. The good ones I'm gonna put down below. Usually I put the good ones on top, but none of these are all that good. The impaling one I can use because I can put that on my. I don't want to put it on the. Javelin until I got a mending book. And but no, the. Yeah, I don't see no rattle. It's like, what a fucking piece of shit. And but yeah, I wrote it up because it wasn't my team. It was like the first team. That would have been. This was the committee man, though. He's the one who got removed early. This is that piece of shit committee man that everybody said back before I worked there. They said he was looking at kiddie porn on the company computers at GM, and. He was the one that put those in, and I wrote it up, and I'm like, hey, we got a problem with this. It's falling out. It shouldn't be. It's causing a lot of downtime, causing a lot of repairs. And again, this is the way it's supposed to work. And then I write it up. I give it to my boss. She gets her fat, worthless ass out from behind her desk. She goes and does her job. She finds out what the fucking problem is, whether it's, and I think it was the part. I don't think it was operator. Whether it's operator error or coming from the supplier, you figure out what's wrong. If it's the operator, you write his ass up. If it's coming from the company, you get them to send us some good parts, and that's what she's supposed to do. She came back, and I shit you not, I literally shit you not. You guys are my favorite turd. It's an old one. I'm sorry. I don't mean anything by it, but that's an old one. You can use it. It's so old. There's probably very few people alive that fucking remember that one. It's so old. Ask your grandparents. They might have remembered. If you could ask your great or great great grandparents, they might even be in there when it was created. I don't know. But she literally came back to me and said that it was okay. It was falling out because it was in spec. And I looked at her and I go, are you serious? And she goes, yeah. I go, well, thank you very much for your help. I go, I'll see what else I can do about it. She goes, oh, yeah, just let me know if you need anything. So I immediately sent it to the area manager. He's the step up from the group leader or the shift leader. My boss was the group leader. Group leader's boss was the shift leader. Shift leaders all responded to the area managers. There were two of them guys. They worked 12-hour days. They should have had three of them, but those guys worked 12-hour days. And so there's one there from 6 to 6, and then there was another one there from 6 to 6, evening to morning, morning to evening. And then the next step is the assistant plant man. If I'm wrong, I'm sorry, but my understanding is after the area managers, it went to the assistant manager, and after the assistant managers, it went to the plant manager. And I went off. I was a little upset, and I said, look, I'm trying to do a job here, and I go, I just cannot deal with the dynamic duo of incompetence of my shift leader and group leader. I'm like, I used the word stupid and I used the word incompetent. And he called me. He was very polite about it. I really got to give him credit. I really wish I could give you my name because I really want to give that guy credit. But on the off chance I want to get used to not doing that, because on the off chance, because when you get that high up, a name, I might as well give you fingerprints if I'm going to give you a name. And again, people down there will know exactly what I'm talking about. Because if I ever get talking about it, I don't know this, but there were rumors that there were people in management who were getting off of tickets and other problems on the off chance that, as long as they were willing to do favors for people who had friends in law enforcement, like they could get out of a speeding ticket. They were probably getting out of drunk driving tickets and stuff like that. I don't know any of this is true, but I heard rumors. And again, but I think this might be the guy, because when there was some other shit that happened, I reported this to the FBI, and I think they dug into it. Well, he ended up retiring shortly thereafter. And I really don't know, but I'm thinking maybe he was involved. Like they said, I didn't know, but he was a pretty good guy. He came out, he was absolutely cool. And you just say, hey, I just want to say I really appreciate people using that system, getting a hold of us. He goes, if we actually get everybody to do that, this would be a better place to start solving these problems. But he goes, I got to tell you got to stop off with the personal attacks. I go, and he was real polite about it, absolutely polite. I go, personal attacks? He goes, well, you can't call people stupid and incompetent. And I go, whoa. I honest to God, I am not sure if I did this or not. Since I'm not sure I did, if I did it, I'd own up to it, but I'm not sure if I did this or not. But the one thing I know for a fact, I told him, I am not attacking anybody. I kind of let him know if I am accurately describing what is going on. That's not an attack. That's an accurate assessment or description. And I go, I just got a question for you. And I go, I really want an answer. I go, since you threw that out there, I really need an answer for this. I go, I gave her a problem. I told him exactly what the problem was. This bracket falling out. I go, I wrote up a problem-solving ticket. I go, I did my share. I did my job. I handed it to her, expected her to do hers. She came back and told me that it was in spec, so it was okay that it was falling out. Now I go, I need to know, is that stupid or is that smart? Is that competent or is that incompetent? I go, which one is it? I go, are you honestly telling me that what she did was smart, that what she did was competent? And he kind of broke down. He goes, look, we don't hire incompetent people. That's literally what, whether anybody believes me or not, that's literally what he told me. He goes, look, we don't hire incompetent people on purpose. Because I'm like, look, it's not an attack if it's true. Like, and again, I'm gonna make this up right now. But like, and again, I don't want to use any names because I heard there was one girl that was actually doing this. Now this would have been years later. My team leader told me that's why she was back out on the floor because she had been on one of those special jobs where you weren't. Well, he had heard that she was blowing people out in the back or in the parking lot. Well, when she got caught, but it's like me. If I filed a report that like somebody was messing, like let's just say I was writing up that some girl's boyfriend was messing things up because his girlfriend would come out and like fucking blow him while he was doing his job, and I called her a cocksucker. That would not be a personal attack. If she's out there sucking, now granted, you wouldn't want to do it. It'd probably be a bad thing. But, if somebody's girlfriend came out and was sucking their dick while they're trying to do their job and they were fucking things up and I basically referred to her as a cocksucker, that is not a personal attack anymore because she's actually fucking doing it. It's a description of what's actually going on. I'm sorry. And, but yeah, so that was a thing, it's like, I don't know what to tell you. I'm really not having a good day, but some days I can remember this shit and some days I can't. But I'm positive on this. I'm having a clear-headed day on this. So tomorrow I might not be able to think about it at all. But oh my God. But that was the shit that went on, down there. I don't know what to tell you. Man, I'm doing okay on books here. I got a Frostwalker. You know what? I might leave that in there. I think that I'm going to put that on this axe. Yeah, I think that's going on. I think Daddy needs a Smite 4 axe. I think that's going on my axe. But yeah, that just blows me away. Well, let's get back to UFO. Sorry about that diversion, but I was actually thinking about and that Jesse Ventura thing kind of perked it up. That really cracked me up. The other thing that he said was, because he basically talked about, well, yeah, these rich people could never do some of the jobs, and I agree. Oh, I know what. That's what that guy was complaining about. He was talking about how somebody said, and I'm honest to God, I can't really tell you what side he was on because I couldn't understand why that became unavailable. But it was because he deleted it. I only saw it once, and then he basically deleted it or blocked me or something. And this was on Threads. But it was basically talking about giving the rich people what we got, like the senators. And they were talking about giving the senators, either give us better health care or give the senators what we have. And that's where I'm like, well, yeah, Jesse Ventura said, yeah, let those rich people, if they think these hardworking jobs are so fucking easy that they can not pay these people, he goes, let them do my job. Let them go through the whole 6 weeks or whatever course of Bud's training for $62 every other week. Let's see them do that. He goes, see if they can put up with that crap for so many days or so many weeks for 60. He goes, I don't think they'll survive a day, let alone a week. And he was saying when he was running that jackhammer at the construction site, he goes, I doubt if they could do that for like 1 10-hour day, let alone a year of 4 10-hour days a week. Because I don't think that's going to happen. And but that just blows me away. But that just and again, to harp on it a little bit more, that just blew me away when they were showing that Roswell thing, because again, so much of it had already, as far as I remember, maybe my memory's a little off. This is why I was talking about the stuff that happened. I was actually remembering that today. I can't remember something I watched. Can't remember something that completely that I watched just a few hours ago, but I can remember something that happened several years ago, like it happened yesterday today. Um, but fucking a man. Um, But that was the thing that got me because one minute, and it was the same documentary. One minute they were showing, they were like saying, "Oh well, clearly this didn't happen. Clearly this didn't happen. It just he conflated all this shit years later from UFO reports in the news and the stuff you have in movies like Plan 9 from Outer Space or Mars Needs Women or some bullshit. And then the next minute they got that skeptic on there talking like, well, yeah, he was clearly saying that this was a UFO back when it happened. Well, would you guys pick a fucking lane? I mean, my God, either he didn't say at all that it was a UFO until decades later, or and this was the thing, and they weren't showing anything else. They were either he was lying, when it happened, according to the skeptic guy, Shermer, or the guy from Skeptic Magazine, uh, or he was some delusional old git 20 or 30 years later, just, having time compression or whatever the military called that shit. And it's like, oh my God, you got to be kidding me. And this is the thing that pisses me off, like with the uh, that you guys. I think this was last year. I can't remember if this happened before or after my mom died, but it was either the end of last year or the beginning of this year. Before I broke my ankle, I'm pretty sure of that. But they had they had like a balloon that went through the United States, and they were saying, oh, it's China's. And then suddenly there was other stuff, and they, like the one, and they clearly knew it was a Chinese spy balloon. And they let that thing go through the whole U.S., and they didn't fucking blow it up until it got back out over the water. And then something else appeared, and they immediately, whatever it was, they immediately sent up stuff to blow it the fuck out of the sky. Another one came in over Canada, and Canada had to have us come up and blow it the fuck out of the sky. And there was a guy that lived up there in the air. I think they shot one down in Alaska. And he said, "Look, I live up here." And he goes, "Here's where they're saying it went down." He goes, "There is nobody here trying to recover that." He goes, "Look, if he goes, I'm in Alaska. This is the area where they said it went down. If they were really out here doing a search for it," he goes, I would see stuff in the air. I would see activity. It's just not happening." And they showed us. They showed us the fucking UFO. They saw the military or the Chinese balloon. We saw the military like going towards it, circling it. I can't remember if they showed footage of us shooting it down. But whatever this other shit was, they couldn't show it to us. Somehow it was a super top secret probation Chinese balloon or some shit. And again, if it was really a Chinese balloon, just a simple, plain, boring balloon, you think Canada would, I'm not saying the Canadian military is as good as us, but I would think that it's good enough that they could shoot down a fucking, spy balloon. I really, like the one they showed us, I think if that's all it was. So, the fact that, they had to send the military to it, I would say is at least suspicion that maybe it was a little something more. Maybe it was a little more something, something, for them to. And it can't be ours, because if it was ours, why would we be shooting our own shit down? That makes no sense. I mean, and again, I'm not saying it's true. I don't know, but it's like other stuff. I think the most realistic answer is that yeah, it was something special at least. Okay, we gotta. Okay, we gotta. Yeah, I'm just gonna throw that out because it's not an enchanted one. I gotta be honest with you. I think I got enough saddles for now. That's another reason why I kind of like to get those raid farms going because you get saddles. Next time I go back to my main base, I think I'm gonna take some with me. And unbreaking and power. Uh, I don't know. I can't because I'm feeling it again. I was streaming Diablo 3 earlier and I got kind of wiped out. I'm getting a little wiped out. I'm gonna start rambling. I'm gonna ramble more than I already have, and for that I apologize. But I I would like to do this stream until I get a book amending. Daddy needs a book. Actually, I could use like 3 or 4 of them, but I really need a book amending. Actually, like 6 to 10 would be nice because I need one for each piece of my armor. So there's 4 right there. I think I got 2 or 3 javelins. I can use one for each of those, and I could use like 4 or 5 for my tools. At least 2 or 3. I'd like to put one on my sword, put one on the pickaxe, the shovel, and the axe. I don't know if I necessarily need one for uh, the hoe right now. Because I think most people will agree that after you've had a hoe for a while, you want a new hoe. A younger one. Oh my God. They're I don't know what you want to call it. I don't know if it's the same movie with just made again or if they just used the same name for a completely different movie, but I didn't understand it at first. But somebody was talking about House Party or something like that. And I thought they were talking about, and they may have been. I don't think they were though. But but it sounds like there's a chance that they remade that movie with some new people. They didn't use Kid and Play. I'm not even sure if they got the guest appearance. That's usually I kind of like that when they remake a movie and they give the original people in it a chance to appear in it. Like they Disney remade that. Well, they I don't know if they remade it. It might have been just another, but they did another one of those Witch Mountain movies. It had The Rock in it, and I really wish I could think of the actress's name. Uh, she played the oh, that crazy guy in Sin City, Mickey Rourke's character, I think. She played his psychiatrist, and you get to see her naked in that. And I really like that movie, anyways. But that could have been a really shitty movie, and if it would have had her naked, and I'd at least watched it once if I'd have known. I didn't know. I'm just like, wow, thank you. And she also played. Oh God, she played like a scientist or a government worker. It had the midget from Elf and Game of Thrones in it. He played like a really weird. He played like a really weird and extremely smart and competent scientist. Don't quote me on this because I'm not 100% sure, but I think the thing was called Threshold or something like that. And it was about the end of the world or an alien takeover or something along those lines. And she played like the head. She's the one who drew up the plan for Threshold or whatever it was called. And they brought her in to run it. And she was in it, I think. And the one I recognized, it was the guy who played the boy in the original and the sequel movies, Witch Mountain, Escape to Witch Mountain and Return from Witch Mountain or something like that. And they had this one girl, and I didn't quite recognize her, but I didn't know her as an actress. And they had her in the same scene that because They had the kid from the original movies, and he looked okay for an actor. He wasn't fat. He still looked, relatively, somebody who could act. He had like he was underweight. He was good weight. Didn't have, he was in shape. He still looked okay. He wasn't overweight. Hadn't lost all his hair. His teeth were all still there. They had this. I don't really, and I'm not trying to be rude or just. They had this super fucking hot woman in there playing like a bartender or waitress or something. I looked it up afterwards. Yeah, she was the one who played the little girl in the movies, I think. And I didn't know this, but apparently she had been on one of those Housewives TV shows. She wasn't just a skilled actress when she was a kid. She was a bona fide fucking trophy wife when she got older. Man, did she look good. And, I'm not kidding you. I don't even know how old she was. She probably looked better than half the 20-year-olds in Hollywood. And that's actually saying something. But yeah, she was one on those housewife reality shows or whatever they had. And, but they gave them a chance to do it when they did the Lost in Space movie with Heather Graham, and I can't think of the guy's name, but he was in Friends. He played Major West or whatever. Well, they had certain members from the original show, like the one who played the mom in the original show. She was like the school principal. I think Major West was actually Major West's boss, the one who assigned him to the Jupiter program. And Bill Mummy was not in there. And Bill Mummy is the guy who played the little kid in the show. He was so busy. He was offered, but he was so busy filming Babylon 5 that he wasn't able to make it. But I can't remember if any of the other ones made it on there. But yeah, I don't know. But they at least give him a chance. But I can't think of what a movie I'm looking at. I can't. Oh, yeah, I can't remember what movie. But that one there, I'm not sure if they let anybody. Oh yeah, the remake of. I'm gonna go ahead and end the stream. I'm fading now. I can't remember what. I wish I had access to chat, so if anybody was watching, you could basically tell me. But I honestly can't remember what movie it was. But I don't know if they let anybody. I don't know if they let anybody from the original stuff show up in it. But it's really nice when they do that. I apologize. I'm fading. I think I had a pretty good stream up until about halfway through it. I wish I knew the name of it, but it was just on National Geo. So if you are, I don't know anything about it. My brother watches it. I don't watch it. I don't know if it's something where it might be on again this month. Check it out. You might be able to watch it online somewhere. I couldn't find it. I'm not saying it's not on here. I'm just saying I couldn't find it because I was going to watch it while I was doing the stream to kind of remind me. I think I did remember a little bit more of it than I thought I was going to, so there was that. But, yeah. Well, anyways, I hope everybody has a good weekend. It actually seemed like it was a pretty nice day today. It's getting warm in here now. But I hope everybody has a good day. Peace out, and hope you have a good rest of the weekend.